Yes guys, welcome back to another video. Today is another episode of my travel stories. Now, the first two, one from Bali, one from Thailand, they've done pretty well, and you guys have asked me to tell you a load more stories of crazy days and crazy events that have happened whilst I've been traveling. Now, two things that are kind of consistent with all of these are Lawrence Benson is with me, who has actually been doing the videography for the fitness series, so thank you for that, Lawrence. New episode out tomorrow. Lawrence has been with me, and the majority of them contain some kind of element of danger. Now, the two previous have been a bike accident where there were genuine, potentially life-threatening injuries, and me putting myself in a situation where I helped somebody who turns out maybe he didn't deserve my help, but I did a good deed and put myself in danger. This one, the whole experience itself made the entire story 10 times more enjoyable to look back on. This is the story of our road trip in Vietnam.
We're in a place called Zoom Cafe right now. Getting some fuel in my body, very tired, little sleep again last night, but today we've got a 4-hour journey, 100 miles across Vietnam to a place called Mui Ne.
So we started off the day by me losing my bike in a parking lot. No idea how I managed to do it. I do kind of know how I managed to do it. There are so many bikes in Ho Chi Minh City. Everyone rides a bike, apart from a few taxis for people that don't want to ride their bikes. The city, Ho Chi Minh, is formerly known as Saigon. We spent a few days in the city and we went to the Cu Chi tunnels, which is a couple of hours away, and I combated one of my biggest fears.
Oh my god, this is making me shake.
Oh my god, I'm shaking like a dog.
Oh man, I'm shaking.
Oh, hi.
I can't, I have to go backwards, I have to. I can't move.
There was a ton of spiders in there, which really freaked me out. If there's anything in the world that scares me, it's definitely spiders. And that was a real test for me. But we set off on the road, and I lost my bike in a parking lot. I thought instead of parking it on the street, where there are thousands of bikes, I'll be safe in the parking lot. It was early in the morning, it was 7:30, and there wasn't that many bikes in this parking lot. So we were good, we were safe. Turns out the 45 minutes we spent over breakfast, just finalising our plans for the day and how we were going to get there, during that 45 minutes, hundreds of bikes decided to descend on the parking lot. Now, Lawrence found his pretty quickly, but I didn't find mine, which was a bit of an issue because it delayed us by an additional 90 minutes. This was a bit of a nightmare, and if I would have foreshadowed what was about to come, I would have spent the majority of the time during my breakfast on the free Wi-Fi in the restaurant, figuring out an alternative way for us to get to Mui Ne.
Alright, so we kind of screwed up a little bit. The main route that you can take to Mui Ne is in the quickest route. Motorbikes aren't allowed, and we're on motorbikes. So I'm trying to use my Safari, which is costing me a fortune, to figure out a way that we can get there that isn't going to take 4 days.
Nothing with two wheels is allowed on this road going out of Ho Chi Minh City. The first real issue of the day, other than me losing my bike, so it's the second real issue, has occurred. Now, we're talking to the officer.
Why can't anything work? The only thing I can think of is to translate from English from Vietnamese to English so that this chap here can explain to us how to get there.
And it turns out we're not allowed on this road, and I had no data whatsoever. I was kind of going in and out of one bar, trying to download a map of where we should be going, which was actually going to tell us the correct routes we're allowed to use on a bike. That app actually cost me £500 in data to download. That was the first real irresponsible thing I did. I actually managed to get the majority of that money back from my phone provider, which was very good.
Not only does it cost me a ton of money, because I didn't buy a SIM, that's my own fault, but there's none. So we can't even translate. So, we've decided to take a walking route, which takes 1 day and 15 hours. Just to avoid this bloody bane of our life, which is the CT01.
We're having a bit of an adventure. We're having a great time. It's not gone the way we wanted it to at the start. The people we were traveling with have managed to take our bags forward to Mui Ne, so it's just Lawrence, me, and our camera equipment. We're having a great time.
That was stressful, but we've managed to combat the problem. But I think the one thing, Lawrence, we need to do in the future is get a SIM card so that we're not spending tens of, almost hundreds of pounds on data when we're not planning properly, because that was our fault.
So by far the scariest part of this entire day, we're approaching a bridge and we're going pretty quick at this point, and this is the part where, yes, we were both very irresponsible and got extremely lucky not to have suffered any serious bike injuries. This could have been far worse than the injury I had in Bali. Now, the injury I had in Bali almost stopped me from flying. It almost meant someone had to operate on my brain. Now, this one was something that I could not have foreseen whatsoever. So Lawrence and I, we're cruising along this road. It's very straight. It's a pretty straight line from Ho Chi Minh to Mui Ne, and we're getting towards 2/3 of the way through the journey. We're making up some serious ground. Now, we come up to a bridge, and on this bridge, there was like a blind spot where you can see the bridge, but you can't fully see the road. You know, like when you see those mirages on the road when there's heat, and it looks as though like the road just disappears in front, so it goes a little bit blurry. It's a little bit like that, but it was more of like a, if you imagine something that's straight, this is the worst way of me describing this, straight but with like a little tiny curve at the end, and then it looked as though it just went straight back down the other side, which it did, but what we didn't see was bang in the middle of this bridge, just as you go over the hump, there was a huge pothole. I mean, absolutely huge. Now, the scariest thing about this is Lawrence and I were probably doing around 85 kilometers to 90 kilometers per hour on our scooters, which is pretty damn fast for these small engine scooters. They're not really, they're designed to go like pottering around short distances. They're not designed for this long ass road trip. We'd already filled it up once or twice. Now, we both discovered that as we went over this little ridge, we both took air. So we both came off the ground on our scooters, and somehow, fortunately, after taking air, we managed to land over the pothole. Now, the pothole is probably around the same size of the frame that I'm using to film with this camera right now for this video. It was big enough to really, really hurt somebody. When we both did it, and we both took air and we both landed it, everything was fine. We both stopped immediately. We both pulled over to the side of the road and was just like, what the hell has just happened? Quite frankly, if we were going any slower, which we should have been going slower, we'd have 100% hit the front wheel at the back of the pothole and gone flying off our bikes.
Thank God I'm still alive. Like, that was scary, really scary. Like, for most of the journey there, we were doing like 80k, 90k?
Yeah.
At least. Like, and then suddenly we went up this small ridge, and then we just caught airtime. Like, I was up in the air for like maybe almost a second.
That's a long time when you're going that speed.
90k, that is a long time. And had we hit it, it would have definitely crashed. And then we both stopped on the side of the road and, yeah, took a breather because it could have been disastrous.
Again, it's very difficult for me to sit here and preach about what you should wear when you're riding a scooter in a foreign country or what you should wear when you're riding a bike, but I know 100% that it was so stupid, really, to do a trip that long without any protective gear on whatsoever. And when I watch it back now, I genuinely, it makes me feel a bit ill to think how irresponsible we were. And I know that, and I know people in the comments will bash me for it, but that's what we did. We were wearing short sleeve t-shirts, and if we were going any slower, and we wouldn't have taken as much air as we go over this little tiny ridge at the top of this bridge, we'd have 100% gone flying off of those bikes. And we both stopped, Lawrence and I stopped, and we're just like, wow. It freaked us out a little bit, and you can see here, there was actually a bit of damage on my bike.
We had a bit of a bump earlier, and this has come loose at the back. Thank you. We had to take it off because it was like hanging off and dragging along the floor. Only problem is now there's like a hole in my exhaust, which isn't ideal. Look at this.
A bit of the bike fell off, and we met this really cute dog, just to like really, really mellow out this story that just got a little bit crazy for a second. This is so cute, man. Come on, cutest dog in the world, this little puppy, and this man very kindly offered free of charge to fix our little broken part of our bike on the back, which was absolutely mental. When we look back on this moment, it is kind of foreshadowing my bike accident in Bali, because the bike accident in Bali happened 2 months after this. So, you know, me being a little bit irresponsible on a bike was nothing new. And I got what I deserved, we can all say. And hopefully you guys can watch these videos back and not make the same mistakes that I did by being so erratic and irresponsible on bikes. But as the day drew on, we tried to stop more to take photos, we stopped more to take videos, to try and tell the story of the day. And Lawrence and I both decided this week, when he's been helping me film the fitness documentaries, that I needed to tell the story of this day in this kind of video, because the video we shot on the day just didn't do it enough justice. The road trip was long. The heat that was coming down, it was a good 33 to 35 degrees. It was pretty humid, which is not comfortable. Most of the days we were in Ho Chi Minh, it was actually a little bit cooler. It was more towards like 25 degrees. Still very sticky, still very humid, but it was bearable. Whereas this day on the bike, the further out of the city we managed to get, the hotter, the stickier it got, the more uncomfortable it got for the bags on our back with our cameras. Obviously, you're driving through a brand new country. Vietnam is this vast country. We're not going through the most beautiful part of it, but we're going along and we're seeing all these small towns, these small villages. There was actually a family that invited us in for lunch because, I don't know, they've probably never seen people potentially that look the way that Lawrence and I do before, which is incredible. And sadly, because we were so focused on making sure we got to Mui Ne before dark, we actually didn't go in and eat, which again is a huge regret from this day, because that would have been amazing to just be on this massive road trip and some random family invite us in. Very kind of them. But as the day drew on, we realized that the more we stopped and ate food, there wasn't really that many places to stop and eat. It was mainly snacks.
We're about 90 kilometers away now, which isn't that far. On the map it says if we drive it, it's an hour and 56 minutes. On the walking map, it still says a day, but obviously we're not walking, we're actually driving. Stopped off again with some snacks. Let's have a Nescafe latte and a bottle of water. We seem to stop like every 35 kilometers. The kind of unhealthy snacks like chocolates and biscuits and stuff.
And then we started to realize that we hadn't seen a refueling station for a while. And on these scooters, it always seems as though from full tank to a half tank doesn't seem to last, it seems to last quite long compared to half to empty. Lawrence and I are both now realizing that we can't be so quick. We need to be a lot more conservative with the fuel that we're using. We've slowed right down. We're trying to go at like a consistent 45 kilometers per hour, I'll say, which is still pretty quick, but it's a lot slower than how we've been cruising along for the whole day. We start to hear the bike chugging out a little bit. And at this point, I'm thinking, oh my word. So one of us is gonna have to stay, the other one's gonna have to go on and somehow find a petrol station, a gas station, in order to fill up both of the bikes, because, well, we're absolutely stuck here. And at this point, we'd stopped seeing cars go flying past. We were pretty much on the road on our own. There wasn't very many people. We'd gone off the main roads. It was like another little side road. We still didn't have any data. So I understood at this point that downloading that app had cost me so much money. None of the fuel stations, none of the major fuel stations in Vietnam were showing up on the map. Chugging along, we just about managed to scrape it to a petrol station, and we get just about enough fuel in the bikes because we had hardly any cash. They wouldn't take card. We needed to find a cash point too. So we're dealing with two situations. We've got a bike running out and we've got a cash supply that's very limited. Now, we've both put in the equivalent of maybe 50 pence into our bikes in order to get as much fuel as we possibly could into the bike. We just about managed to make it to a proper fueling station where we could actually withdraw money from an ATM to be able to pay for the fuel, because no places take card. We probably had about 100 meters left in the tank before the bikes were just gonna stop working and kink out on the side of the road with Lawrence and I stranded, and we found a place. Barcelona! He's got a Barcelona t-shirt on, Messi on. No one listens to me anymore.
How do you think today's been?
This has been the most crazy day. Genuinely, I don't really know how else to explain it. We've done some mad adventures in the last year, but we started this year so busy. It's been good, but it's been hard because we've had to go fast. We've had to drive really, really fast, but like, it's been great. It's been probably I think we underestimated it big time.
Yeah.
But I think if we'd have properly researched the route we needed to go, then it would have been much better, because we would have anticipated leaving first thing in the morning so that we weren't in this major rush with the darkness here at the end of the night. I think people told us it took like 7.5, 8 hours, and these are local people, and we took it upon ourselves to agree with Google, which said 4.5 hours. So it's sort of the same old story that, yeah, we've got all this technology, but local people that live here know more than these mobile phones.
This is exactly what traveling and adventuring is all about. This was what made it so fun.
No matter how good you think Google Maps is, but at the same time, we've had absolutely no service all day, and the offline maps of Google Maps has sent us here. So we've got both to thank, really, local people and technology. I just feel great. I've got like this food coming, I don't even know what it's going to be, in this random cafe. I'm happy. I'm very, very happy.
But she's chopping us half a cow over there. And that's a promise. I'm sticking to my word this year. No more faffing around. And we make it to Muine. But looking back on the entire day, there were so many moments that you don't anticipate when you set off on the journey. For example, the ridge where the bike accident could have happened, should have happened if we were actually going at the right speed. When I look back on that now, I just think how stupid we were, but at the same time, I'm so glad that obviously we were fortunate enough to come out of it the right way and getting lucky, as opposed to being thrown off the bike, which would have been an absolute disaster on every single front. More so than anything else, just knowing the laws of the road, that you can't go on certain roads with bikes, would have made the trip a little bit more bearable. I think that, it's not the longest distance, but in the middle of all of that, there were so many little things that went wrong because Lawrence and I didn't plan it properly. But at the same time, when we look back on that day and when we finally arrived at the hostel we were staying in Muine, it was a story. We were exhausted. That brings an end to this one. That brings an end to this one. Vietnam, top place, top trip, and that was probably the most fun we had during our stay there before we went on to Thailand and Bali. I should have kind of done it Vietnam, Thailand, Bali, because that was actually the order that we went on those trips at the beginning of last year. But you guys have heard a story now from each of them. I still have more travel stories. I still want to go into more. So if you did enjoy this, be sure to leave a like rating on the video. Let me know in the comments if you've been to Southeast Asia and you've planned these big road trips and then something similar has happened to you. And again, I've said it numerous times throughout and I don't want to keep going on about it, but please be safe. If you're riding these bikes, always wear your helmet. Always know the road you need to be going on, never go too fast, and yeah, keep an eye out, because the quality of the roads that you're actually driving on are very rarely what we're used to here in a Western climate. But anyway, thank you guys for watching. Leave a like if you enjoyed these. I love just reminiscing over old trips, and be sure to give Lawrence a little follow as well on Instagram. He's been posting a load of bangers recently from all of his trips, and thank you, Lawrence, for taking part in the video. Catch you guys next time. Bye-bye.